Hey everyone, and welcome to This Explainer. I'm seriously so excited to dive into today's topic with you, because honestly, we're looking at what might be the most fascinating corporate evolution of our entire lifetime. We're going to completely dissect Nvidia's staggering rise. I mean, going from a niche gaming company to an absolute global economic superpower. It's wild. And we aren't just geeking out over the tech here. We're breaking this down through the lens of history and business strategy to figure out exactly how they pulled off this insane market dominance.
It's genuinely mind-boggling when you actually stop and think about it. How on earth did a company that, historically made computer chips for playing video games manage to dethrone traditional global titans? We are talking about legacy giants here. Apple, Microsoft, massive financial institutions, literally even Saudi Aramco. Okay, let's dive into this.
So, Nvidia recently climbed the mountain to become the #1 most valuable company in the world. #1. As a business strategist, I got to tell you, this is a textbook case study in the power of human adaptation and innovation. Ultimately, it all boils down to driving incredible efficiency. They didn't just build a slightly better product, right? They fundamentally completely changed how the world processes information. All right, here's our strategic roadmap for today. We'll start with their sudden crowning as a tech sovereign, look back at the microprocessor revolution, examine the strategic coup to pivot, see exactly how they're monopolizing the AI gold rush, analyze the global economic impact, and then finally we'll wrap up by looking at the unintended consequences.
So, jumping right into Section 1, the sudden tech sovereign. Let's really set the stage for exactly where Nvidia sits in the market today.
Picture the absolute top of the global economic mountain. On one side, you've got the usual suspects, right? Apple, Microsoft, Saudi Aramco, the big banks. But then, on the other side, you have Nvidia. Now, for decades, they were pretty much known exclusively to gamers and tech geeks, just the folks building custom PC rigs. But I want to make one thing absolutely clear. This was definitely not an overnight success story. Not at all. It was this slow, methodical build that ended up taking the entire global economy by total surprise. Now, to really understand how they built this foundation, we have to travel back in time a bit. Let's move to our second section, the microprocessor revolution.
So, the whole journey of the digital age kicks off back in the 1940s, right during World War II, with the ENIAC. That was the first programmable electronic digital computer. But man, those things were massive and super inefficient. They obviously had to evolve. The real shift happened later in the 1970s with the development of the microprocessor in Silicon Valley. Historians actually call this the fossil fuels revolution of the digital world, basically packing immense power into a single tiny integrated circuit. Fast forward to 1993, right as the personal computer boom was hitting its absolute peak, driven by this huge global craving for more comfort and efficiency. And that's when Nvidia was founded. Then they released CUDA in 2006, which really sets the stage and leads us right up to the massive AI revolution of the 2020s.
Now, what's really interesting about this slide is the fundamental difference in early business strategy between the major chip makers here. You see, Intel bet heavily on the CPU. Think of the CPU as the brain of the computer, focusing mostly on processing text and standard logic. But Nvidia? They took a totally different path. They focused on the GPU, the graphics processing unit, which basically acted as the computer's eyes. They made a huge bet that the future of computing was going to require processing really complex simultaneous images to support the rapidly growing popular culture of video games.
And you know what? That intense focus on graphics processing laid the perfect groundwork for our third section, the strategic coup to pivot. This is literally the moment that fundamentally altered the entire trajectory of the company. Back in 2006, Nvidia released CUDA, and honestly, a lot of people at the time thought it was a complete waste of money. But looking back, it was pure strategic genius. Basically, CUDA is a platform that allows these GPUs to perform massive mathematical calculations simultaneously. We call this parallel processing. Instead of doing one big task sequentially, like one step at a time, it's doing thousands of tiny tasks all at once. It's actually a prime historical example of human adaptation. They brilliantly adapted their highly specialized graphics hardware to start solving general computing problems. Just look at how these use cases shifted, and you'll see exactly how they built this incredible market dominance. Because of CUDA, the exact same chips that were used to, render the graphics for playing Call of Duty were suddenly being utilized by top scientists and researchers. They were using them for sequencing DNA, simulating incredibly complex weather patterns, and eventually training artificial intelligence. By providing this sheer computing muscle, Nvidia basically took Alan Turing's World War II imitation game theories and turned them into a tangible 21st century reality. Without anyone really noticing, they quietly planted the seeds for our modern knowledge economy.
Which brings us straight into the 2020s and the Fourth Industrial Revolution. Section 4, Monopolizing the AI Gold Rush.
And this brilliantly illustrates how we've entered an entirely new era, driven by a totally new resource. Think about it. The first industrial revolution was powered by coal and steam. The 20th century, that was completely defined and driven by oil. Now, here we are in the fourth industrial revolution, and the new raw material is computing power, specifically Nvidia's H100 chips. These chips have literally become a modern raw material that is arguably way more valuable and way more critical to the knowledge economy than oil ever was.
Some analysts actually describe their current position as, quote, a near monopoly, similar to the chartered monopoly companies of the 17th century, like the Dutch West India Company, unquote. And grasping this is absolutely vital to understanding their business strategy. They didn't just make a cool gadget, they created an insurmountable barrier to entry. Because these chips are so incredibly difficult to manufacture and program, Nvidia isn't just selling a standalone product anymore. They effectively control an entire network of exchange, completely capitalizing on massive network effects. They've built a moat around their business that really mirrors the massive structural monopolies of those old historical empires.
So the absolutely crucial point here is understanding what actually happens when one single company holds all the new oil. Let's zoom out to Section 5, Global Economic Impact, and take a look at the massive macroeconomic forces at play.
To operate at this insane level of global economic impact, you need an unparalleled supply chain. It's basically a two-step dance. Step 1 happens in the United States, where all the incredibly complex chip design takes place. Then, Step 2 happens thousands of miles away in Taiwan, where the precise manufacturing execution actually occurs. This setup creates a massive, continuous, global flow of wealth, literally tying international economies together through a single little piece of silicon.
And who exactly is buying all that silicon? Well, pretty much everyone. Google, Meta, Amazon. Basically, every single major multinational corporation now relies heavily on this one company's infrastructure to build out their massive AI models. They literally cannot participate in the fourth industrial revolution without first paying the toll at Nvidia's toll booth. But as we know from history, with unprecedented technological power comes unprecedented historical fallout. Let's move to our final section, unintended consequences. While we're seeing some truly amazing intended consequences right now, we're talking mind-blowing medical breakthroughs and massive efficiency gains, there are also some very serious unintended consequences. The sources we're looking at highlight the very real threat of democratic manipulation through AI deepfakes, as well as a significant impact on climate change due to the massive energy needs of these vast AI data centers. Historically speaking, it's actually a perfect parallel to the first industrial revolution. That era gave us clean soap and higher real wages, sure, but it also brought us dark satanic mills and severe environmental degradation. We're seeing both incredible benefits and some really serious drawbacks.
So, what should you actually take away from this explainer? Well, it's that Nvidia is currently positioned right at the exact crossroads of human innovation. They didn't just stumble blindly into making good chips for gamers. No, they masterfully adapted their technology over time and intentionally positioned themselves right at the exact intersection of historical human need and technological capability.
I want to leave you with this final, kind of provocative thought to chew on. As Nvidia continues to power the future, what unintended consequences do you think will reshape our world next? Remember, to truly understand the future of global business and technology, we first have to study the history of exactly how we got here. Keep thinking critically about these massive systems, you guys, and I'll see you in the next explainer.